not only orchids, the India is also having certain insectivore plants that such like Drosera, which are endemic to our region. That is Drosera, picture plants, and or which is of also interest of Now coming to the Northeast India, with the preference of over 130 species of primitive angiosperms, it is considered as a cradle of flowering plants, and at least 161 species of important agri-horticultural crops of and 320 species of their wild relatives belonging to 116 genera and 48 families are known to have originated from the northeast India. Then there are 50,000 to 60,000 land races of rice grown in India, and other economically important crops such as wheat, sugarcane, legumes, sesame, eggplant, citrus, banana, mango, jute, then ginger. All this commercial also have high level of diversity. So it is estimated that about 3,000 species of angiosperms are with potential medical values, of which 1,300 species are extensively used in different traditional systems of medicine such as Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, and also in allopathy. So these are the important aspects of different plants or species of plants which are important, and they need the conservation using the different types of or different methods. No, gymnosperms. If you come to the gymnosperms, there are 58 taxa growing in wild under 15 genera and 8 families in India. So they are, they are useful for, they provide timber, wood, resin, stars, and terpene. Family Pinus is the largest represented one with 6 genera and 17 species. Some of the popular exotics are Cycas revoluta, Ginkgo biloba, and Araucaria, and Agathis. Now you can some of the gymnosperms which are having the medicinal value are being exploited, and they are at the verge of they are at a threatened state, and these has to be conserved. That is Taxus, Walchinia, and Ephedra, Gerandica, and Nephidia, Neborodensis. These are the sources for alkaloids which are used in the medicine. Now coming to the another group of this, that is pteridophytes. Mostly you find the pteridophytes in eastern Himalayas and northeast India. About 845 taxa, 171 genera, representing 67% of the pteridophytes are known from the country. Now about 17% of the total pteridophytic species are endemic to India. Now coming to the bryophytes, the vast areas in Himalayas and peninsular India, they are richer in the bryophytic population. Then among the bryophytes, mosses with 2,000 species belonging to 342 genera and 54 families. Out of this, 1,030 occur in the eastern Himalayas, and 751 in western Himalayas, and 540 in western Ghats. About 16 genera and 678 species are endemic to India. And if you come to the liverworts, 850 species under 140 genera and 52 families, and 260 taxa, that is 30% of the total liverwort flora, including 1 family and 5 genera, are endemic to different regions of the country, with the maximum representation in eastern Himalayas. So you find a varied variety of bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms, which are specific or which are endemic to our region. And if you go to the lichens, at 2021 species of lichens represent 248 genera are known to occur in India, and mostly they are present in the tropical to alpine zones, and western Ghats are richest with 800 species, followed by Eastern Ghats with 759 species. So some of the lichens have a medicinal species also. They are also used in the medicinals and also in the perfume industries because of the aromatic presence of aromatic in. And if you take the fungi, approximately 4 to 14,500 species, to 2,300 genera are found in the India. In India, 300 species, 3,500 species are endemic, and it has a more edible mushrooms. And it comes next to the angiospermic population. Represented to algae is represented by 6,500 species and 666 genera, and they are found in a variety of habitats ranging from freshwater, marine, terrestrial, and to the soil. So these are some of the, out of which 1924, 1,924 species are endemic to our country. Uh, Now, why biodiversity needs to be conserved? What is the need of conservation of biodiversity? Conservation of biodiversity implies sustaining the diversity in the ecosystem. So, according to the today's context, the pace of at which the several species are at the verge of extinction is very quite alarming. Within the loss of several species, the ecosystem balance is disturbed. Hence, the species on the earth are interconnected with one another. As I said earlier, it is very, very important that every species has its own niche in the ecosystem. Hence, the loss of one species poses threat to another existence of another species because they are interdependent between with one another. The product and services obtained from the flora and fauna species across the world is innumerous. So here, the removal of natural vegetation for development is putting stress on the ecosystem. It is important for preserving the diversity of the species. As I said, they are interdependent, and some of the species are having a medicinal value, and some of the species are very important for the other products. So we need the biodiversity to be preserved. Biodiversity, and it was also important for the economic and development of any country. Then it also helps in the sustainable management and utilization of a species of ecosystem. Not only this, biodiversity, uh, if the biodiversity is lost, there is a tremendous fall in the economic growth of the country. A majority of the rural products, or sorry, a majority of the rural people, their livelihood is dependent on the forest and other that is other occupations like fishery. Fishing is also one of the main occupations of the many people of the world. So if the biodiversity of the marine biodiversity is lost, most of the people, they lose their livelihood. So as I said, fish and shellfish exports from the developing countries exceed the value of coffee, rubber, cocoa, tea, and tobacco, meat, and rice. If this is lost, 2,006 billion people depend on the fisheries for the protein and livelihoods. So seafood is also most highly traded food community, and which helps in the economy of a country. Now, what are the factors that would help in the conservation of the biodiversity? So, sustainable utilization of resources is a must for the maintenance of the biodiversity. Legal poaching, hunting of wildlife species should be banned completely. Several protected areas should be set up for the conservation of different species. Environmental laws associated with the biodiversity conservation should be implemented and strictly followed. These are the some of the factors, and also introducing the concept of gene banks and capitative breeding on a wide scale could improve the declining population of a particular species. Then their focus should be made on the climate change, and also because this now a very uh, there is a urgent need on the focus of the climate change, because this is a dramatically changing the biodiversity laws of a world. So every initiating the concept of community forest management and educating people about the importance of the conservation of the diversity. Now, what is the status of conservation of biodiversity in India? Over 30% of the geographical area of our country, including that of Himalayas, Western Ghats, and Andamans and Nicobar Islands, still remain to be floristically explored. So, that still there are some unknown species which are recorded. So they have to be explored. The biodiversity of our country is under considerable degree of threat due to the various factors, that is both natural and man-made. Natural causes such as calamities, it is earthquake, floods and other things, fires, and competition between the species, and urbanization, and all this leads to the loss of biodiversity. So some of the species, man-made threats, mining, urbanization, industrialization, grazing, overexploitation, components of floristic diversity, and introduction of alien species which have severely threatened many of the wild species. It is estimated that about 26,106 plant species is globally threatened due to the man-made activities. So Indians' contribution to crop biodiversity have been impressive with so over 50,000 varieties of rice, 5,000 varieties of sorghum, and 1,000 varieties of mangoes are there, which are endemic to our country, that is India. And the National Gene Bank, primarily responsible for the ex situ conservation of unique germplasm on a long-term basis, holds nearly 4 lakh unique accessions of the plant genetic resources.
Hello.
For Indian, conservation of biodiversity is crucial not only because it provides several goods of services to the human survival, but also because it is directly linked to providing, as I said previously, and I've been saying, not only it gives the other services, but it is a primary source for the livelihood of many people. That is about 60% or more than 60% of the people of Indian population, which are dependent on the nature for their livelihood. Then not only that, Indian forests neutralize about 11% of the Indian greenhouse gases emissions. Nearly 200 million people are dependent on forests for the livelihood of this. So as I said, it is very, very important to conserve the biodiversity and other natural resources of our country. So measures for the conservation which have been observed, that is in situ conservation, as you know, the biospheres, natural parks, sanctuaries, reserve forests, and other protected areas, and the ex situ conservations. I have given only a few, but you can go. We have another. No, what is the overall trend which we are observing in the biodiversity loss and the conservation aspects? During the last 200 million years, as a part of the process of evolution, 100 to 1,000 species become extinct every century. So this is very, very alarming. In recent centuries, human activities has accelerated the extinction of species. Today, the extinction rate is 1,000 to 10,000 times higher than the natural rate before human intervention. So it has being a very alarming thing to us because day to day the extinction is the rate of extinction is increasing due to the human cause or human interference. More than 700 species of vertebrates, invertebrates, and vascular plants have become extinct since AD 1600. Untold numbers probably become extinct without ever being identified or described. Some of the unknown species have been become extinct because of their unidentity or unexploration. Some of the habitats richest in biodiversity, such as tropical rainforest, are being destroyed because of human activities. The destruction of habitat could lead to the extinction of species that lived there and can live nowhere else. So during the last few decades, India has cut down at least 50% of its forest, polluted over 70% of its water bodies, built or cultivated over much of its grasslands, and degraded many coastal areas. So this has brought a tremendous loss to the biodiversity and extinction of many species. At least 10% of the India's recorded wild flora, that is mainly flowering plants, and possibly a large percentage of its wild fauna are threatened, although many are on the verge of extinction. Over globally expected national hotspots are in the forests of the northeast Himalayas and western Ghats, which are included in the world most biorich areas. So now I am giving a few examples of some plants which are according to the IUCN list. They are in the status of either a vulnerable, threatened, or they are endangered. Then this only I am giving a picture of the few species, which some of them which are at the edge of this last should be conserved using some aspects either of biotechnology applications or any other thing. Some of the plants which need attention of the conservation is one is Ammonotaxus assamica. This is endangered plant species which are present in Arunachal Pradesh, and this is also known as Assam catechin, and it is locally used for the house construction. Then another one, Actino, Daphne, Lausinia. This is a vulnerable plant species which belongs to the family Laraceae, and it is present in the evergreen forested region of Kerala. It is found in the high elevation between 1200 to 2400 meters. Its aromatic leaves have medicinal use, and the plant population is decreasing because of the habitat loss, which is the one of the major threat to the biodiversity loss. Then another plant, Alex Carcinia, the conservation status is critically endangered. This endangered plant species are found in Shillong Peak in Meghalaya, where only 4 rare species are available. So this such type of plants, they need a conservation aspect. It grows about 15 to 20 meters tall. The plant is so threatened because seed germination in nature happens very rarely, and viable seeds have to have a prolonged stage of dormancy. So this such type of plants, they need the biotechnological applications for the conservations. So this aspect will be dealt with the Mustafa sir. And another plant, another one is this is Pterospermum reticulatum. Then the conservation status of this plant is vulnerable. This it is also called as Malavaram, and it is there in Kerala, and comes under threatened list in Tamil Nadu. Then it can grow up to 20 meters tall. The bark the bark has an excellent property of antioxidant and anti-inflammatory, and it is used against bronchitis, cough, malaria, sterility, and hepatobiliary elements and rickets. So this is the another one more plant which needs an urgency of conservation. This is another one, Commiphora whitey. The conservation status is critically endangered. This is a shrub. Then it is commonly called as Google, which blooms between September to January. It grows up to the height of 3 feet. It present only in Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Rajasthan, and it is used for arthritis, urinary disorder, rheumatism, obesity, piles, and high cholesterol and skin diseases. Invasive and non-invasive species have led to decrease in number of this species. So this is threatened by the invasive species, which is the one of the threat to the biodiversity. Then another one, Cariata pedata. Then this is also a critically endangered plant species. Then it is observed in Tamil Nadu and Kerala states. It blooms only during the month of March and August. It is used to treat hysteria, diarrhea, ulcer. It is has a good properties of astringent properties. Now, this Cycas that is endangered. This endangered plant species is confined only to Andhra Pradesh region. It blooms during the month of July to December. Then it is used for muscle pain and rheumatoid arthritis in Ayurveda. Then another one is Santam album. That this is also a vulnerable conservation status vulnerable, and this is known as Indian sandalwood tree, and Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka. Then it has the properties of antipyretic, sedative, diuretic, and disinfectant properties. It helps to treat skin ailments, bronchitis, gonorrhea, and acidity. And this is another one, Decalpus hamiltoni, and this is endangered, and this grows along the rocky slopes and crevices in peninsular India. Thus, and it is, blooms during the month of, and it is also called as swallow root. It is well known as for its inflammatory, neuroprotective, hepatoprotective, cytoprotective, chemoprotective, and insecticidal properties. Housing urban areas, roads, and railroads are destroying these plants. That is, the habitat loss is infecting this. Now another one is Pterocarpum marsupium. This is also in a threatened category, and it is also known as Indian kino tree. It is present in Maharashtra, Orissa, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh, and southern India. And this is used as a astringent, and it has also both anti-diabetic and anti-inflammatory properties. So as I said, that sacred groves this also plays a vital role, and these sacred groves are known as these are the traditional means of biodiversity, where many species of trees were considered sacred in India. For example, Basia latifolia, and some of the sacred, that is tulasi, then the bale tree, and the banyan tree, ficus tree, and then tulasi, and these are only a few which are giving. And some of the other sacred plants are ornamental plants such as champa and plumeria, and this is parijatam. These are all are considered to be a sacred plants, and which are worshipped in the different regions of in India by local people. Then sacred groves are good source of variety of medicinal plants, fruits, fodder, fuel, and wood species. In India, the sacred groves were reported earlier from the Himalayas, northeast India, highlands of Bihar, Orissa, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and etc. There are around 13,720 sacred groves reported in India. The total area of sacred groves India as a whole would be about 39,063 hectares, contributed to 0.55% of the total forest of India. So this has also an important role in the biodiversity, or in the species of our place, and they are rich for their medicinal sources, and also for the different species, diversity of species. So this is about the biodiversity, and as it is only a 1 hour time scheduled, I could not go into the other aspects of the biodiversity, because as you know, the biodiversity is a vast subject which cannot be listed in a hour. So I have tried my level best to do it, and because as the concept is the only conservation of biodiversity using the biotechnological methods, biotechnology methods, I have restricted this lecture into the basics of the biodiversity, which mostly all of you know the basics, that is the levels of biodiversity and other aspects of the biodiversity. And then what is that? And mainly I have concentrated only in the status of the biodiversity in India, taking into consideration the different sectors of the plants, that is the angiosperms, gymnosperms, and the fungi and other, and what are the threats to this species, and how it can be conserved by using the biotechnology. Aspects will be taken by the other my colleague, that is Mustafa and Christopher sir. They both of them, they deal with the conservative part of this. So there is an urgent need for the conservation of the biodiversity, not only biodiversity, specifically to the medicinal plants, which have an important value economically and also for the human mankind. Now, I thank the organizers. I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Especially the staff of Government Degree College for Women Jagtial, that principal Malla Srinivas Reddy, then other host Tirupati, then other members, IQSC coordinator Kiranmayi, academic coordinator Shankaraya, and vice chairman, that is Sultana, and Satya Prakash Garu, and Swarupa Rani, and Madhukar Rao, NSS coordinator, and Rahman, for giving me this opportunity to give a lecture on this biodiversity. Thank you, one and all. Okay, what are your doubts? Okay, please let me know.
Madam, it's very nice information, madam, to us.
I cannot hear you, please.
Thank you, madam, for good information.
Cheppandi, evaru maatladutunnaru? May I know who is?
I am Srihari.
Hello.